we wrapped up class on Wednesday, I was talking about the action potential of a motor nerve, right? Remember that? Never forget. And I explained to you the effects of hyperkalemia, are not like hyperkalemia and hypokalemia on the motor nerve and the heart. You got me? So now I'm going to explain to you hyper and hypocalcemia. Say yeah. Okay? All right. So here we go. What's that? I adopted? No, it's rolling. Oh yeah, we're recording fools here. Oh yeah. Just gotta get my little Mr. Microphone out. Okay, hang on. I'm doing good. Hello? Oh yeah. Recording every single word. Alright. So, wait. This is what I'm expecting. Alright, watch. Write this down, never forget it. High levels of calcium in the blood block sodium leak and sodium voltage gated channels. What has to leak in for a nerve to fire? Sodium. If high levels of calcium block sodium leak and voltage gated channels, will nerves depolarize as easily? No. So if motor nerves that innervate muscles don't depolarize very quickly or often, what will happen to your muscles? They will become weak. Tell me you got that. So one of the signs of hypercalcemia is muscle weakness. Is your brain a nerve? Yeah. So you could say, you're getting on my nerves and my brain. Are you with me? So if high levels of calcium block sodium leak and voltage gated channels, what's going to happen to mental function? It will go down. So, on Wednesday, I'm going to draw everyone's blood and check for hypercalcemia. Could explain a lot. Tell me you're with me. All right? Do you need nervous innervation to your guts to cause GI activity? Parasympathetic nervous system, right? So if high levels of calcium block sodium channels, what's going to happen to GI activity? It's going to slow down. So they're going to get constipated. Again, this reminds me of this class. You all feel constipated. Then on December 13th, is it? Right? Well, whatever day, last day of class, you will be unconstipated. Right? Doesn't it feel good like when a class is over? Right? Who cares how you did? It's over. Right? Who cares? It's over. Yeah. Say yes. Okay. What's going to happen to heart activity? In what way? What? I'm helping you out here. Wait, I should have labeled that. What does high levels of calcium in the blood do to sodium leak and voltage gated channels in the heart? Right, the arrow represents, or the little X block, right? What needs to leak in, and it does so spontaneously in order for the heart to reach threshold and fire? Sodium and calcium, right? So if high levels of sodium or high levels of calcium block sodium leak and voltage gated channels, sodium is what really causes the heart to fire, to depolarize. Tell me you got that. So what will happen to their heart rate? It's going to go down. But what's the most important element in muscular contraction? Calcium. And if the calcium is high in the blood, more calcium will come into the actin and myosin filaments. So the heart rate will be low, but the force of contraction will be high. Ow! Ow! Tell me you got that. Guys? All right. What's the opposite of hypercalcemia? I'm writing that down. Now watch. No one wants to drink this freaking Kool-Aid, and it's so good. It tastes like White Claw. I'm trying to tell you, if you just remember this, life would be so much better. You don't want to do it. If your blood levels of calcium are low, what's going to happen to sodium leak and sodium voltage gated channels in the heart? They'll become leakier and voltagier. So what will happen to the heart rate? It will go up. What will happen to the force of contraction? It will go down because there's less calcium available for contraction. Say yes. Let's talk about the nerves, which I'm probably getting on yours. If the calcium is low, calcium's low, what does low calcium do to sodium leak and voltage gated channels and nerves? Makes them leakier and voltagier. Boom. So will nerves fire more frequently? Right. And wait, watch. What does a muscle have to do before it can contract again? It has to relax. So if the nerve fires so rapidly, it will not give the muscle time to relax. So those people will go into tetany. Say yes, knee. Guys? All right. I'm willing to bet $1 gazillion. Yeah, I said it. $1 gazillion. This will come back. Oh, we were talking about the 90-Day Fiancé, Honey Boo Boo, and Little People Big World. In my day class. Honey Boo Boo. I didn't know what Honey Boo Boo was. I watched that show and I'm like, these people actually have a show. Okay, here we go. Write this down. Write this down. Are you going to write it down? Maddie, what about you? Yeah, sure. Oh, Jesus. Oh, look at that. Okay, here we go. What does low levels of calcium in the blood do to nerve activity? It makes it fire more frequently. Okay? There is a sign for hypocalcemia. It's called the Trousseau sign. There it is right there. I can't spell it. It's French. You got me? Hypoxia and hypocalcemia make sodium leak and voltage gated channels leakier and voltagier. That's why, watch. When you fall asleep on your arm, you've cut off the blood supply. That's why when you wake up, your arm is dead and it feels numb and tingly. That's because you've caused hypoxia to it. And it's weak. Tell me you got that. So what does hypocalcemia do to nerve activity? It makes nerves more fiery, so the arm will get weak. Tell me you got that. And if the hypocalcemia and the hypoxia are bad enough, low oxygen is bad enough, then it will make the nerves even more fiery. And in order for a muscle to contract again, it has to relax. So if the nerve fires so frequently, the muscle will not be able to relax, and they will go into tetany. It's called the Trousseau sign, and it's a sign of hypocalcemia. Are you with me? So, is this guy a senator, you think?
No.
And I'm judging a little bit, but, he's tatted. His whole arm is tatted, right? And I'm going to give you a little clinical history on him in a minute. But watch. What they're going to do is they're going to put a blood pressure cuff on this guy's arm. And as they pump up the volume, they're going to be cutting off arterial blood, which will lead to hypoxia. He's already hypocalcemic. So he will develop the Trousseau sign or the carpal pedal spasm. And this is a sign of hypocalcemia. And this will come back and haunt you. You'll probably dream about it. Waking up, going like this. Okay, they're pumping up the volume. I can't pull this out, otherwise it'll stop the camtasia thing. And what you'll see is that his hand will start to spasm, and then it will cramp. And he's not doing that. He's doing it all by himself. When you put a blood pressure cuff on her?
No, it does that on its own.
She probably got hypocalcemia. Yeah, now they're going to take... Right, it looks painful, don't it? Then they're going to release the pressure on the cuff, and then it'll go back down. What a scary movie.
Yeah, it does.
He looks like the guy from what? Did he have his hand like that? Oh, he probably had hypocalcemia. He's a guitar player too. You see him working that? Okay. Oh, there's our buddy. Let's watch him. He's a star. Okay. 2 things I want to show you. Number 1. This guy's a blood. He's gang signing. That's how they started gang signs. They all developed hypocalcemia. Anyway. I hate me too. Okay? And the other thing is that he has pancreatitis. Do you know how I know? Do you think he knows what a buzz is? You think he ever had a White Claw?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right. Right. He wakes up in the morning and gargles with White Claw. Okay? This guy is a boozer. And watch. One of the things that alcohol does, some of the bad things, we know about the good things. This is true. Alcohol will punch holes in the pancreatic duct. And people who drink, they develop chronic pancreatitis. And the number 1 risk factor for the development of pancreatic cancer is a history of pancreatitis. That's why people who are heavy-duty boozers, they're at greater risk for the development of pancreatic cancer. So, and this takes us all the way back to literally day number 1. Right? Watch. Where are the pancreatic enzymes supposed to be Where? Where are they supposed to get dumped into? Into the pancreatic duct, which gets washed into what part of the intestines? The duodenum, right? So, you got a pancreatic cell, right? And you have enzymes in there. Amylase, say yes. Lipase, yes. When they draw your blood, what do they look for? Stuff in your blood. So when they stick the needle in there, if your pancreatic cells are healthy, do they find any amylase or lipase? Watch. So when you have pancreatitis, the enzymes that are normally supposed to get washed into the duodenum end up in the pancreatic tissue. And they do their job. Pancreatic cells are made of carbs, fats, and protein. So they begin to digest your pancreas. That's pancreatitis. Your own digestive enzymes digesting your pancreas. Well, that's what it is. And when they start eating your pancreatic cells, what happens to your pancreatic cell membrane? It gets rougher. And where do amylase and lipase go? Into the blood. So what are the blood tests to test for pancreatitis? Say yes. Watch. What does lipase digest? You better get this. Good. How is fat transported in the blood? Right, you remember that little symbol, don't you? And lipase comes in and it digests it. And it digests it into fatty acids and glycerol. Watch it. And fatty acids have a -2 charge. What has a +2 charge that's floating in the blood? And calcium will bind to those free fatty acids, lowering the amount of circulating free calcium. That's how pancreatitis causes hypocalcemia. No one will explain that to you. Nobody. Nobody. I'm the only one in the world that knows that. Now, you do. You kind of like, you're in a new crowd, Jacqueline. So if I see you at Woodman's, maybe shopping online, I don't know. How I would see you shopping online, I don't know that either. And we just see each other and we look and we just kind of nod our heads. Because we know something that other people don't. Tell me you got that. Okay, now watch. What do you mean a little bit? I explained that perfectly. The enzymes that are supposed to go into the duodenum, because it punches holes in the pancreatic duct, those enzymes leach into the pancreatic tissue. That's how it causes pancreatitis. That's chronic pancreatitis. Acute pancreatitis is typically caused by gallstone obstruction of the sphincter of Oddi. So if you get a gallstone and it blocks the sphincter of Oddi, watch it, and then you eat some chicken a la king, you got me? Sphincter of Oddi dysfunction surgery? You had that? You had a sphincter of Oddi problem? Did you get pancreatitis? Nice. Yeah, did they do an ERCP on you? Yeah, they stick a tube down your throat? Yeah, it's called an endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography. Right?
I did. Midterm.
Yeah. Well, maybe it hated you too. I talked to ERCP. Yeah, I don't like that, Jaleesa. Especially with those eye waves.
The other functions still work?
Yes. Yes. If you have severe pancreatitis, it can cause destruction of the islet cells, right? And it can cause a massive release of insulin into the blood, can cause severe hypoglycemia. If you survive that, you end up being diabetic. Right. Now watch. And because it's fun. You got nothing else to do. The most common cause of having to get your gallbladder removed is cholecystitis, inflammation of the gallbladder caused by cholelithiasis. Gallstones. All right? Yeah. What happens is bile kind of settles in the gallbladder, and it can produce what's called bile sludge, and that sludge is really hard to move. So when the gallbladder contracts, you'll get pain. It's called dropsies. What? Why is it called dropsies? Because the bile dropsies out of solution. Literally.
So I had my gallbladder taken out before I had that sphincter. So something like
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But what did they do? Go in and dilate it? Yeah, they had to cut it. It was, yeah, they had to cut it. It's a little circular band of muscle, and it's relaxed by secretin. And not secretin, but CCKs. Because CCK causes the gallbladder to contract, and normally the sphincter of Oddi is tight. So you want bile to get in there when there's fat in your duodenum. So CCK relaxes the sphincter of Oddi, and then it causes the gallbladder to contract. That's how they diagnose if you have gallstones or bile sludge. They will do a ultrasound, and they will give you CCK to see if your gallbladder contracts and see if they can see that sludge in there. No, because the liver will make it, and it will continually be released into the duodenum. So you'll have that. For a while, you will have some problems, and they should tell you to reduce the amount of fat in your diet for about the first 6 months. Yes. And also, what happens is, over time, if you're young enough, the cystic duct actually hypertrophies and forms a small gallbladder. So if you get your gallbladder out at an early enough age, you can get gallstones again. That's a fact. That's a fact. I don't know, like in your teens. You know, because it will hypertrophy and grow a small gallbladder. But this one I wanted to show you. So, watch. If you get a gallstone that blocks the sphincter of Oddi, and then you eat some food, the pancreas is going to be signaled by secretin to release digestive enzymes. And they're going to get in the little, pancreatic highway and, drive down. And then there's going to be a roadblock. So those enzymes are going to remain in the pancreas. And they will begin to do their job. They will digest the pancreas. That's why the most common place to develop pancreatic cancer is at the head of the pancreas. Because pancreatitis increases that risk. Now watch. Watch how simple this is. What caused the pancreas to release digestive enzymes? What caused secretin to be released? Eating food. So the treatment for pancreatitis is no food. They can't eat. And they'll actually, secretions from the stomach, hydrochloric acid from the stomach can trigger the pancreas to release digestive enzymes. So they snake an NG down your stomach to suction, suck out all the goo out of your stomach, don't give you nothing to eat, give you an IV, give you some antibiotics, some anti-inflammatories, and pain medicine, say a little prayer, and hope it gets better. That's the treatment for pancreatitis. If it's really bad and you can't eat, then they will start total parenteral nutrition. They will feed you through a IV until this gets better. Tell me you got that. And one of the signs that pancreatitis, you're going to get a big inflamed belly, right? You'll get inflammation. And what will happen is if you start bleeding, because the pancreas is very vascular, you will get this classic sign where you get like this hemorrhage around your belly button. And you're going to be in trouble. No. Not well. You will struggle. You'll have problems with glucose metabolism. You'll have problems with digestion. Now, watch. I don't want to get into it too much. Take my pathophysiology class and I'll be glad to explain it to you. But the pancreatic duct also has goblet cells that secrete mucus, along with the common bile duct. So in people with cystic fibrosis, their mucus is really thick. So a lot of times their digestive enzymes end up remaining in the pancreatic duct because the mucus is so thick, and they end up digesting their pancreas. That's how they discovered cystic fibrosis. It was actually a GI disease they discovered because there was scarring in the pancreas, fibrosis of the pancreas. And so what they do is the body does stuff that makes sense. So people with cystic fibrosis, they will actually take digestive enzymes. And these digestive enzymes will have a negative feedback on the pancreas and prevent the pancreas from releasing digestive enzymes. So people with cystic fibrosis take trypsin, amylase, lipase, and it's enteric-coated to get through the stomach acid, and then once it gets in the duodenum, it breaks down to help them digest their food, and it prevents them from releasing the pancreatic enzymes that can cause pancreatitis. Does that make sense? Right. Well, the treatment for chronic pancreatitis is not to drink. Who had like a gallstone?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's acute. Get rid of the gallstone, they're straight. Right? For chronic pancreatitis, you stop the bad behavior. You don't reward them by treating them, right? You tell them to stop boozing. That's a good idea. I have to get me some of those on time. Just in case. Have a bout with White Claw. You guys don't like that, do you? That stuff goes down like freaking water. I'm working on my online class and I'm drinking that stuff and I'm like, I pick up the can and it's empty. I go, I just got this.
You got an online class?
Yeah. Pathophysiology. It's blended. Half online, half in class. Nobody shows up. They're all haters. Okay, tell me, you got that, guys? That's the Trousseau sign. Anybody willing to bet me $1 million? $1 million to $1. I mean, if I'm wrong, this doesn't come back and haunt you, I will give you $1 million. If I'm right, you give me $1. Anybody? It will be in clinical and they'll ask you about this stuff. Yeah, well, the other one that you may like is Elvis. Wait, hang on. Here we go. This is the Chvostek sign. When you tap the facial nerve, you get ipsilateral contraction of the lip. So watch. It's a fun one. And this guy here, he didn't read the textbook, so somebody cut him. Cut his throat. I don't want that to happen to me. You better read. He had his parathyroid gland removed. And I'll talk more about that. Tell me that makes sense. You followed that. That is hypo and hypercalcemia, and how it affects the heart and how it affects nerves. Right? Okay, now watch. Watch. What does acidosis do to calcium levels? This is way back. This is way back. Acidosis leads to hypercalcemia. What does acidosis do to neural activity? It what? It decreases neural activity. What does hypocalcemia do to neural activity? It what?
Hypocalcemia?
Yeah. Wait, what is hypercalcemia due to neural activity? Forget it. Write this down. Maybe you'll remember this. Tired of helping you. Nobody helped me. I had to walk the scuttle 10 miles uphill both ways. My mom cooked me a baked potato. I kept that in my pocket to keep my hands warm, and I ate that for lunch. Acidosis is associated with hypercalcemia. Remember the albumin bus? What does acidosis do to neural activity? What does hypercalcemia do to neural activity? Alkalosis, increased neural activity. What does hypocalcemia do to neural activity? And alkalosis is associated with hypocalcemia. The education continues. Tell me you got that. So if you know what acidosis does, and you know that acidosis goes with hypercalcemia, to the crowd, you got it. You gotta go. That information is so top quality. I gotta high five myself. So yeah. Okay. That's that. Here we go. I'm gonna rifle through this. So a week from today is optional review. I will be here, rocking back and forth, refreshing my email, and if you have any questions, you come in, because we're going to complete all this stuff by Wednesday. Say yes. And if you don't, then you study, maybe go to church, and say a little prayer. God bless Timmy. It always goes bad at the end. You know why? I just lose it. Like I'm a starter, not a finisher. You know what I mean? Like how many people, like, you start something, you're like, yeah, let's go. Then by the end, like, what the hell did I get myself into? All right. Okay, here we go. I'm going to talk about the ear and how we hear a sound. What? Why we got two ears and not just one big one? We wouldn't look goofy. What if we had like an ear that was kind of like a satellite dish? Detected sound and would like move. If you had like a little boom right in the middle of your head.
Funny ears.
Funny ears? Yeah, like dog ears do that. People's ears do it too. Yeah. Oh, watch. Let's say there's a killer over there. And he says, I'm going to kill you. Okay? Watch. The sound wave will come into this ear first. It will resonate through your skull bone and enter this ear just a split second later. And your brain has the ability to triangulate direction. That's why you have two ears. The same reason you have two eyes, not one big one. Are we predator or prey? How? How do you know? Our eyes are forward and separated by a distance, and that allows for binocular vision and to determine distance. Right? So if you want to kill somebody, like, I don't know, it's pretty fast. Right? So all aminals who are predator, they have their eyes in the front. Prey have their eyes on the side because, hey, give me manly looks. So that's why we got two ears too. Tell me you got that. Has anyone ever tuned an instrument like I had to, where you hit a tuning fork, you put it on a string, you would tighten or loosen the string until the string began to vibrate. Then you're in tune. That's called resonance. Right, you should see the looks. What do you got? It's an app on your phone, right? You guys do not know I mean, do you have any idea how... Look, I was thinking about it, right? I'd have to write these papers when I was in undergrad and graduate school. And computers weren't like... Not everyone had a computer. So you'd have to go to the... And there was no internet, right? www what? So you'd have to go to the library to do research. Here, you can sit on your toilet and look for the stuff that you need. Okay, here we go. Watch. How many people watch MMA? You ever see the dudes with the cauliflower ears? You know how that happens? This is type 2 cartilage. Type 2, softer, right? Type 1 cartilage is scar tissue. And scar tissue has a lot of calcium, less flexible. So if somebody's biting your ear or gnawing on it or bending it, you damage the cartilage, and if you damage it enough, it gets replaced with scar tissue. That's why their ear gets cauliflowerish. Isn't that nice? Then they get it pierced. Then they get a big piece of metal through it with a spear on it. So if dude comes in, he's like, poison on it. Okay. Watch. This part of the ear right here is called the tragus. The tragus can be used. How many got young kids? 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, right? Nobody's got young kids? Okay. If you suspect they have an ear infection, push the tragus in. And if they have a middle ear infection, they will scream. If they don't scream, maybe they're just tough. But if they do, if they start wincing, right, and they start, moving in pain, they have a middle ear infection. No, that's a different part of the ear. The tragus? Yeah, inside right there, but not the tragus, right? Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not there. Don't do that. Well, it's weird. Did I tell you I did a EKG, a 12-lead EKG on a student last semester? And I'm like, I can't touch you. There's rules. So I'm going to teach you how to prep yourself. So you put the electrodes on, and then I'll put the leads on you. And I said, just wear like a jogging pants and a sports bra. So we went down to the fourth floor, and then she lays down, and I see she has a belly button ring, or belly button like piercing. And I got lightheaded. I'm not kidding. I'm looking and I'm like, oh. Because, you ever jack with your belly button? You're in the shower and, you clean it with, a little, right? And then I'm thinking somebody's putting, a needle in there, and I just got lightheaded. Oh.
I had mine until I was 8 months pregnant and pulled it out on pliers.
Can I tell you, man, life is painful enough. Why would you needlessly inflict pain on yourself? No. All right. Anyways, got off track last time. Can't do it. I want this class to end at some point. Oh, this is very important. People whose earlobes are not attached to the bottom have criminal tendencies. Whose are not attached. If they're not attached, there's criminal tendencies.
Oh, wait, are yours attached?
Well, mine are attached. I don't steal as far as you know. I dated this girl in college, and that's what he told me. He goes, look for people that don't have their earlobes attached. They have criminal tendencies. There we go. And any guy who wears sunglasses on his head is, Yeah. There we go. Okay. Watch. The ear is divided into three major divisions. You have the external ear, which is made up of the external auditory canal and the pinea. Oh, nice, huh? Or the auricle. Then, separating the external canal from the middle ear is the tympanic membrane, which is a thin, translucent slab of protein. Repetitive middle ear infections that cause rupturing of that tympanic membrane, the tympanic membrane will replace it with scar tissue so kids can lose hearing from that, right? Now, you got the middle ear. The middle ear is normally air-filled. And watch, there is a tube that connects the middle ear to the back of the throat called the eustachian tube or the auditory tube. And it has the same lining as the respiratory system. And that tube has a circular band of smooth muscle surrounding it. And normally that muscle is constricted, so the tube is closed. But if you go into a plane where the pressure is changing, then the pressure in the external ear has to equalize with the pressure in the middle ear. So what will happen is that tube will open, and the popping you're hearing is that tube actually opening. Now, if you got a middle ear infection with a lot of green googers in there, then you will not be able to equalize that pressure, and it can actually cause a rupturing of your eardrum. So don't go on a plane if you got a middle ear infection. Now, the reason that kids, typically under the age of 5, have frequent ear infections is because the eustachian tube is at much more of an acute angle. So as we get older, our face gets longer, right? So the tube starts to become more obtuse, so goo can slide down into the back of the throat. That's why adults should not be getting middle ear infections. There's something going on there. You have one now? There's something wrong. I can't explain it. Just watch. People who have repeated, like little kids, if they have repeated ear infections, they'll put tubes in their ear. In the ear. That's what they call it. Tubes in the ear. I'll show you. While you're taking the final, I'm going to have this up. Watch it. Yeah, this doesn't weird you out. This is what I was trying to show you. So in an infant, the eustachian tube is more acute, so that goo can't slide into the back of the throat. And as adults, it's more obtuse, so that it slides down. So when they put tubes in your ear, what they'll do is they'll put a tube right in the tympanic membrane and allow any goo and stuff to leave the middle ear through that tube and end up in the external ear. And then what happens is once the infection is gone, the immune system will say, hey, what the hell is this? And it will actually push it out. A lot of times you find the tube in the kid's pillow or something, and then it will seal off the eardrum. Sometimes they don't come out, and then you just have to go to the ENT and they just pull them out. So this allows that goo to come out. No. And they really shouldn't, you know. If they're staying in for a long time and the infection's gone, then, you know, it doesn't make any sense. Right, get rid of them. All right. Now, this is what I want to explain to you. And I'll show you a video on this in a minute. The function of the tympanic membrane and the auditory ossicles are simply to amplify sound wave. You got me? And if you damage your tympanic membrane or your auditory ossicles, then the hearing aid will help you. But if you damage the inner ear, then a hearing aid is not going to help you. So there's a difference between conduction hearing loss and sensory neural hearing loss. All right? And I'm going to explain a little bit of both. All right? Okay, so this is what I want to explain to you. Watch. Here's a sound wave. This is A, and this is 2. Which has a higher frequency? 2. The bumps occur more frequently. Higher. Okay? And a higher frequency sound has a higher pitch. Say yes. All right. Now, within the cochlea, and I'll explain more, I'm just kind of giving you a little overview, and then I'm going to put it together for you. Within the cochlea, there's a specialized structures called the organ of Corti. And the organ of Corti have these hair cells. And these hair cells, this is important, these hair cells vary in height and thickness. So there's some hair cells like this, right, like this, and each one varies in height and thickness. And each one of these hair cells resonate with a particular frequency of sound that enters the cochlea. Let me give you an example. So when the sound wave comes into the cochlea, based on its frequency, it's going to resonate with these particular hair cells, one of these 3 particular hair cells. And based on the frequency of sound that enters the cochlea, one of those hairs will resonate and it will begin to vibrate. And when it vibrates, it opens up an ion channel. And when it opens up an ion channel, an electrical impulse is sent down that particular nerve that's connected to that hair cell. And within the organ of Corti, we have over 30,000 individual hair cells, each one with a particular frequency. And based on the sound wave that enters the cochlea, that determines which of these hair cells vibrate and which nerve sends an electrical impulse to the brain. Did you follow that? A little bit? All right. So write this down. Let me show you the video first. This will help. Okay, let's look at dude. Oh, video 2. Uh-oh. He's a blood too. Watch. Okay. You know what that means? I'm gonna get you, sucker. Okay. How we hear a sound. Okay, here we go. There's dude. He's typing. Okay. Let's break the myth of sushi. Well, yeah. Hey. Okay, study. Write this down. When sound waves enter the external auditory canal, they will cause the tympanic membrane and the 3 auditory ossicles to begin to vibrate. Write this down, I mean it. What's the last auditory ossicle? MIS. The stapes, right? Write this down. The stapes is connected to the cochlea, not Coachella. The cochlea via the oval window. So there is a transparent membrane that the stapes is connected to, and that transparent membrane is called the oval window. Now, write this down. The cochlea is fluid filled. Now, if you've ever thrown a rock in a lake, it produces a fluid wave, right? Based on the size of the rock, that will determine the frequency of the wave that it's produced, all right? So based on the frequency of sound that comes into the ear, that will determine how fast the tympanic membrane and the auditory ossicles vibrate. That in turn will determine how fast the stapes vibrates, and that in turn will determine the frequency of the fluid wave within the cochlea. Are you with me? And the frequency of fluid wave within the cochlea will then begin to vibrate those hair cells. It will cause those hair cells to resonate. And how those hair cells resonate determine which hair cells are activated and which hair cells send electrical impulses to the temporal lobe. Say yes. That's how you hear a sound. Now, if you damage the hair cells in the cochlea, nothing will help you except a cochlear implant. If you damage the auditory ossicles or the tympanic membrane, a hearing aid will help you, because all this does is amplify the sound wave. Now, watch. What happens to your bones as you get older? Do they become more flexible or less flexible? So as people age, all the bones kind of develop arthritis, and the auditory ossicles are not exclusive, they're still part of that. That's why if you've taken CNA training, they will tell you to, when you talk to somebody who's elderly, to look at them, talk quietly, and lower the pitch of your voice. And the reason you lower the pitch of your voice is because the bones can't vibrate as fast, and therefore they lose hearing in the higher frequencies. And I believe that this is evolutionary. So as married couples, as they get older, if the husband does something wrong, the pitch of the wife's voice tends to go up. You might actually call it a shrill or shriek. And because as the guy gets older, his auditory ossicles don't vibrate as much, he can't hear that sound. And that saves marriages and maybe lives. Can I tell you this story real quick? This is years ago. It's probably 20 years ago. I took my mom out to breakfast, right? So we're sitting in a booth, and I'm sitting here, and my mom's sitting there. And then I hear this lady talking to her husband. And she goes, "Oh, yeah? Well, why don't you just go fuck yourself?" And I'm like, damn. And then I don't turn my head, right? Because they're having a moment. And this little 80-year-old lady gets off the water. She was the one. You know? But what's that?
You're really high pitched.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, I don't know what it is, but like, you'll just hear high pitched for like a few seconds.
And then it'll go away and then you can never hear it again?
Yeah. That's what I've heard. Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
I have that.
But it's just for a few seconds.
Oh, really? No, I never heard that. I have that too. This is no joke. With that tinnitus, sometimes I think I hear voices. I'm not lying. And I can never make out the words. You know what I mean? But I'm like, I think, is somebody talking? Probably shouldn't have told you that. What's that? What is that? Oh, that's not a hearing problem? Oh. Sometimes I smell the colors. Oh. Can I tell you, I've never done a hard drug in my life, ever. I've never, even when I had surgery, I refused to take like morphine or codeine or like oxy. When I had my hernia surgery, they gave me 40 oxy. I still had them. So I dumped them out and I put them in a sugar bowl. And then my nephew, right, the human turd, "Hey, tip my back, it's hurting." I go, "Well, why don't you work?" And He came over and he took them. How much? Oh, for real? Yeah, you know what? A&P juice, Polish, and Oxy out of the back of my Jeep. I should really try to market that A&P juice, man. Right? You need an 83? Talk to Timmy. Drink some A&P juice. Look, I sucked it down and now I'm teaching. And look, I'm basically retarded. Oh, Lord. Look what I did for my general class. I put together cahoots on all the parts of the brain and spinal cord and everything. Then they complain. I know. It's okay, I'm flunking them all. No. You will, though, when you get in the clinical. You will. Damn, I wish I would have paid attention. Hey, yeah. That's hearing. That's enough. You got that? All right, what's left? Oh, hormones, huh? It won't take long. Did I tell you I was cutting out all the big ones? Oh, I didn't tell you that? Oh, wait, well, you should take it to a vote. Oh, I know what the vote will be. Why is this doing this? You know what? This computer hasn't been making noise. Do you notice that? Yeah. I got some sleep. I really slept good Saturday. Oh, yeah. I think that's why I maybe sleep so good. Why is this not working? What? Yeah. Yeah, well, you know what? Look, you got to start somewhere. I'm not sure what you do. Leave me alone. So I can go home and drink my coffee. All right. In my other classes, they wanted me to take off the hormones that we had already covered. Is that what you want me to do? Yeah. Okay. Slackers. Oh, did that come out? So these are calcitonin, parathyroid hormone, growth hormone, oxytocin, prolactin. Oxytocin and prolactin I'm going to do when we complete the male and female reproduction. You got me? And we'll do that on Wednesday. We can eat pizza and talk about the epididymis. Whee! What? Yeah, what more you want? The hormones. Turn up your hearing aid. Can I tell you? I did a Kahoot, a final review for my general class. So I went over the male and female reproduction. And the questions that I was giving them in class, I had on the Kahoot. And I thought, there are people that are going to get this wrong. And I went over it 2 minutes ago. So there were like 18 people in it, and 4 people out of 18 got it wrong. And I just went over it. Yeah. That's why I want taking care of me on my deathbed.
That's what you're going to get, too.
You know what? Yeah. That's why if I make it to 80, I'm just going to walk out in front of a bus. Is there anything wrong with that? There ain't nothing wrong with that. Would you want to live forever? No. Life ain't that great. You don't have them now there, sister. Oh, did that come out? What am I talking about here? Oh, hormones. Yeah, look. These things go south. Wind force, what the hell is that? All right, here we go. Watch. As I talked to you about before, most hormones are proteins, right? And they're released from one part of the body, but have their effects someplace else. And hormones come in two flavors: non-steroid and steroid. The only difference between a non-steroid and a steroid hormone has cholesterol as its base. So a guy who takes estrogen is taking steroids because estrogen is a steroid hormone. Okay? Now, most of these hormones work in one big way. One big way they work is by increasing the number of enzymes in a particular reaction. So if you recall, enzymes control all chemical reactions. So if you want a chemical reaction to happen more frequently, then you need more enzymes to make that chemical reaction happen. So that's how enzymes do it. And typically, steroid hormones go directly through the cell membrane and attach to the DNA and affect the DNA, where non-steroid hormones bind to a specific receptor and then activate a secondary messenger. I'm not going to get in all that. If you want to learn more about that, go to graduate school or call a friend. Call a cop. All right? So this is what I want you to understand. Hormones, when they're administered as replacement therapy or they're given for some type of medical condition, are not given in milligrams. They're given in micrograms. So 1,000th of a milligram. And the reason for that is they have that cascading effect, just like in the clotting cascade, where a small amount of hormone will activate many, many, many enzymes inside the cell. So if you've ever seen anyone who's on Synthroid, the synthetic thyroid hormone, it's given out in micrograms, right? Not milligrams. And the reason for that is that of that cascading effect of hormones and increasing enzymes. Say yeah. And we know Glandmaster P, yes. And do we remember Goat Flap? Really? How do you spell gloat? How do you spell, what is this? Oxytocin, ADH, thyroid stimulating hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, right? No, the ACTH and prolactin. Tell me you got that, right? So, and what are the two hormones that are released from the posterior pituitary? Oxytocin and ADH. And the reason they're released from the posterior pituitary is because they're produced in the hypothalamus, and therefore any hormone produced by the hypo is released by the posterior pituitary. Say yes. The hormone we want to talk about very briefly is human growth hormone, or somatostatin. Human growth hormone is released from the anterior pituitary, and its function is to make humans grow. That's one of its functions. All right. Human growth hormone is continually released, and it's released in the anterior pituitary. So HGH, or human growth hormone, is released from the anterior pituitary, and it's released in a diurnal fashion. Oh. Meaning you get an increase in HGH. Ugh, hang on. Thank you. HGH around midnight, and it'll be secreted till about 6 a.m. Its peak, excuse me, is from 4 to 6 a.m. Now, one of the functions of human growth hormone is to increase blood sugar, and it increases blood sugar by breaking down glycogen. So human growth hormone is one of the hormones that produce that dawn effect. Remember, we had cortisol, epinephrine, and now human growth hormone. The other thing that human growth hormone does is it increases protein synthesis in literally every cell of the body. Every cell except the brain. So that's why guys who take it, they're big and strong, but they're not particularly bright. You got me? The other thing that human growth hormone does is that it increases the production of T3 and T4. So what do T3 and T4 control? Right, and what does the thyroid control? Right, your basal metabolic rate. So HGH increases your basal metabolic rate indirectly by increasing T3 and T4. So HGH is being prescribed by some doctors as a weight loss drug because it increases protein synthesis and it increases your basal metabolic rate. So you're going to need more energy to make protein, and you're going to be using more energy because of T3 and T4. The other thing that human growth hormone does is that it jacks up your immune system. It increases your immune system. And that makes sense, right? Human growth hormone is released when people are sleeping. And sleep is restorative, right? It's the time that you repair your body. And human growth hormone is involved in repairing your body. So it jacks up your immune system, increases protein synthesis, and increases your metabolic rate. The other thing, and probably its best known effect, is that it stimulates osteoblasts. And its most profound effect is on the long bones of the body. Right? So, you learned in general that bones have epiphyseal plates or growth plates, right? And they're loaded with osteoblasts. So, under the effects of human growth hormone, it will stimulate osteoblasts and cause long bones of the body to get longer. So that's how you get taller. Now, testosterone affects that and estrogen affects that. That's why women, they tend to reach a greater height when they hit puberty. So girls 7th, 8th grade tend to be taller than the boys. And then in high school, the boys go through puberty and they shoot up. Now, here's a guy, Andre the Giant, needs a new do. But this guy had a tumor of the pituitary gland, which caused excessive release of human growth hormone. And he had it at a very young age. Now, this is important to note. In women, the epiphyseal plates or growth plates seal at about 17. So how tall you was at 17 is how tall you is now, right? You didn't get any taller. Men, their epiphyseal plates seal at about the age of 24. So that's why scouts that are looking at a high school kid, and he's, say, 6'2", and he weighs 190 pounds, they anticipate him getting another 2 inches taller and 30 pounds heavier. So Andre the Giant, here's the weird thing, is I always think about this. What are the odds of someone becoming a giant and their last name was the Giant? He was in what movie was he in? You know, I never saw that movie.
Really?
No. Did you ever see Predator?
Yes.
Okay, this ain't no movie critic stuff here.
You know what? You should watch that movie.
I'm not watching nothing. I gotta make futures.
You know what? You should watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, and all these guys are looking at Andre, and they're probably thinking the same thing. What are the odds of someone becoming a giant? 'Cause that thing was a giant. Okay, the other thing that happens with human growth hormone in excess, if you get the tumor and you get excessive human growth hormone before the epiphyseal plates seal, then you'll become a giant. If you get excessive human growth hormone after they seal, human growth hormone also causes bone to become thickening, and you get a condition called acromegaly. You ever hear of it? So acromegaly is a thickening of the bone. So if you look at his legs, he's got these Lincoln log legs and these kind of sausagey fingers. So he had acromegaly too. And then this is his hand around a beer can. They showed him, I watched a biography of him, and they showed him with a bottle of wine. It looked like, an A1 steak sauce bottle in his hand. He was 7'6", and he weighed 550 pounds. But here's the problem with that, is anatomically, humans aren't meant to be that big without having some problems. So if you look at his chest is kind of barrel-shaped because over his lifetime, his heart anatomically was just not designed to perfuse a body that big. So he ended up dying of congestive heart failure. And he was relatively young. I don't know how old he was. But here's the thing, and there's no getting around this. The Hulk body slammed the Giant at WrestleMania 1. Did you see that? Yeah. And just so you know, you guys probably are way too young for this, but the Hulk wasn't always the Hulk. When he was wrestling in Milwaukee, he was Super Destroyer. Write that down. You'll get extra credit. If you mention that at the final, I'll give you extra credit.
How much?
Whatever. More than 0. Super Destroyer. And if you also mention, I'll give you extra credit, if you mention the demandments of prayer, training, and vitamins. Those are the demandments. Right?
Are they?
And what you gonna do?
Training and what?
I'll tell you, man, if this class was extra credit, you guys would be Rhodes Scholars. Tell me you got that, guys. And then we have, of course, Wee Man, who is on the opposite spectrum, right? If you look at him, he's got a relatively normal-shaped head and a regularly, pretty normal-shaped torso, but he's got, like, little arms and legs and these little tiny fingers. So he developed dwarfism as a result of no human growth hormone, or very little. And once the epiphyseal plates seal, then human growth hormone is not going to make this person any longer. That's why if you got a little baby, they got the little height and weight chart, and they chart it. And if you're your little baby's in the 10th percentile, lower 10th percentile for height and weight, at about the age of 11, they're going to draw some blood and monitor and measure human growth hormone level. And if it's low, they can start supplementing. But here's the thing, a lot of insurance companies don't view dwarfism as a medical problem, right? So a lot of insurance companies don't cover it, and a year's supply of human growth hormone is about $20,000. That's why you see a lot of young dwarfs when medically they don't have to be dwarfs. And then that's what got us into stripping? No, got us into who's the family that owns a farm?
Oh, my small life or something?
Yeah, I can't believe you know this. But anyways, that's what got us on to Honey Boo Boo or whatever her name is. And they're two dwarfs, right? And they had 3 kids that are what? Yeah, who cares? Who cares? Right, I don't want to talk about it. But what I learned is that dwarfism can be, it doesn't have to be in the homozygous recessive state. You can be heterozygous and develop dwarfism. That's why they were able to have normal height kids. So if you have one dominant gene and one recessive gene, you can develop dwarfism. But if you have one dominant gene and one recessive gene and you're a dwarf, and then you kick it with a dwarf who has one dominant gene and one recessive gene, you can still have kids that are of normal height because you can get two dominant genes together. That's why they had 3 regular height kids and 1 dwarf. I don't know. I've never heard of that program in my life. There's like 20 different dwarfisms. Not at all. In this case, definitely. Like the case of Mini-Me, right? The guy who, right?
Yeah.
He had some kind of jacked up dwarfism. I don't know what that was, right?
How do you know?
He was all. Did you see him? I mean, he was like he had like I think he was messed up. He had Marfan syndrome, and for a dwarf to have Marfan syndrome, that's really jacked up. Marfan syndrome is a connective tissue disorder, and it causes weakening of the large vessels of the heart. Yeah. And I'm like, look. Yeah, that's a mess. I don't care how much money that guy makes. Who knows? And look, if I was Wee Man, I'd be drinking and drugging too. I would never be sober. Right? I mean, look. If you're a guy, the worst thing to be is a short guy. It is. I'm just telling. And now, he's really short. Right? Some people just. Huh? Oh, I don't know. Oh, they probably did, but again, it's expensive to get that. But once the epiphyseal plates heal, it ain't gonna help. And a lot of parents, a lot of these rich people, what they're doing is they're remodeling their kids. What they'll do is they will actually get human growth hormone for their kids and start supplementing it so they will grow taller than normal. That's a fact. Well, it is what it is. That's not what? Yeah, his was too. Yeah, his is classic. Like if you look at most dwarfs, right, they've got the normal shaped head and the normal sized torso, and then you got little arms and legs. Because HGH affects long bones of the body, predominantly.
So, what about are there medications that you need kids growth plates, seal, and like Adderall for some kids? They're finding Adderall.
We'll seal them
really early.
Yeah, Adderall stunts your growth. Just so you know, Adderall does not increase your long-term memory. It increases your short-term memory. I should be taking Adderall. I don't need long-term memory. I got mine. You do. So don't be taking it. Drink White Claw. That increases your long-term memory. What's that? It's all normal, I guess. Never really saw it. I never really have. A package? No, that doesn't have anything to do with it. The thing's connected to your torso. Well, I don't know. You know, if I can remove that M, you know. Find out. Yeah. Why, you thinking of rolling that way? Got. All right. Well, anywho, that's the effects of human growth hormone. See,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Can I do calcitonin and parathyroid hormone and then you can ambulate home? What? Ambulate home now? I don't care. Want to go home now? We'll do that on Wednesday. All right, go home now. I don't care. I got mine. What's that?
That was a hard sell.